Hey everyone, this is Chris and you're listening to One Cross Radio and you're about to listen to part 2 of Another Chat with 4 Friends. Hope you enjoy and God bless. What was your question?
Yeah, what I was going to ask
you had a question, yeah.
Was what Simpsons episode do you guys remember seeing that caused that disappointment where you're like, oh, okay, this show's done for me now?
I don't think it was a particular episode. I used to just set my PVR and have every Sunday's new episode come on, like 2 or 3 years ago. And I realized after about 2 seasons that I was just having it on in the background. I wasn't paying attention to the show, and I didn't care. Like, I was just sitting there on my iPad or whatever, and the show would be in the background. And I wasn't getting anything out of it. It wasn't any particular thing. It was just a slow realization, like falling out of love.
Yeah, so was it more of a gradual, more of a gradient of disappointment that you...
Yeah, it was just realizing that the episodes were just kind of churned out. They weren't thought out. They weren't, like you were saying.
Well said.
Yeah.
So I just said, this isn't... It has its moments, but it's not good anymore.
I don't know if for me, like, it's similar to Mike. I don't think it was a particular... Like, I didn't used to watch it like, oh, it's every Sunday, so it's Simpsons night. It was like, when I was a little kid, like, my parents were, they'd be like, okay, I was the kid who would just repeat stuff. So they were like, okay, we can't have you watching Simpsons because you'll just repeat Bart, you'll repeat all the bad words and all that. Like, legit.
Freaking ears! Guys, like, that was a line that did me in.
Like, legit, when I was 3 or 4, like, we threw on the first Ninja Turtles movie, which is a great comic book movie. Friggin' love that movie. But Raphael yells, like, damn twice. And the first time, like, I just yelled it because Raphael was my favorite turtle. And I was like, oh, you're a kid, you repeat stuff. And then my dad was like, if you do that again, we're going to have to turn off the movie. And then, legit, I did it. The next time he yelled damn, and then I was like, damn. And then my dad was like, okay, turn off the movie, and we didn't watch it for a year. No, just because, and I've seen it happen with little kids. Like, for me, a wake-up point with Family Guy. I was working on my church day camp, and you didn't realize how much, like, kids do just... like regurgitate stuff they watch on TV without knowing the meaning. So I'm there, and it's the lunchtime, and kids who are, it's an age range of like 5 to 12. They just start singing Brian's like pro weed march song like verbatim.
That's probably like the least offensive.
But they also like but then the other kids were like busting out other quotes from Family Guy where it's like, well, she doesn't have any rights as a woman or whatever. Just like that, just stuff like that where you're just like, that's when I noticed like, oh, dang. Like, yeah, no, kids just do pick up on this stuff. I have no idea where this was going.
Without knowing that, it's more satirical, right? Where it's making fun of the fact of that like simple-minded white trash mentality.
Right. Sorry, no, now I just remembered where I was actually going. I was trying to be like Christian and hope I find this story along the way.
It's something we're all here with.
Maybe you're born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Maybe it's a medication.
But then I was allowed to watch Simpsons when I in 5th grade because at that time South Park came out. So it's like, okay, this is definitely going to be...
bar is lower.
Like, watch this. You'll be all right.
You know what? Watch The Simpsons.
So then I ended up later like seeing more of The Simpsons. So even though I was alive during its like prime golden age, I didn't get to see it week to week. Yeah. And then later as I got it on DVDs and I was actually like seeking out the episodes on iTunes, I just noticed, like Mike, where it's like, wow, I'm not getting like the thought-provoking stuff or like the gut-wrenching laughter like I used to.
Yeah.
I know for a lot of people, the point that was like, this is where the show separated was the Skinner episode where you find out like Skinner wasn't Skinner.
Right. That was still like a decent episode. Yeah. But that it's like you're right. It was like a kind of a breaking point.
That was the point for people where they're like, why? Like,
what was the point?
What was the point? Because by the end of the episode, you're saying we're just going to ignore this, but then also it's like you're betraying this thing that's been here for at this point like 9 seasons or something.
There was a jumping the shark moment.
But then I saw some episodes from season 21 that just had me dying laughing. Like not at the same like guttural level where it's like, wow, you could actually have like a really in-depth like conversation about this, but it's it was an episode where like a whale got beached or something, and there was just a lot of really, really funny one-liners. So it's a very different show.
So they're like more surface level laughs.
Yeah.
And they're not
But
really
good surface.
diving down.
No, not like classic Simpsons would give you that surface level laugh, but then it would also sometimes give you like something really thought provoking, and then like a deep guttural guffaw. Like,
Yeah.
Well, it's difficult, right? Because it's a moving target. Because not only is the time changing, the comedy's changing, like the show itself, and like your taste and like your mind and how you see things is changing.
Yeah.
And oh shoot. No,
You lost it.
No, it was there. Like I had it all. Like while you were talking.
Yeah.
It's in a cloud of THC.
You should have just interrupted me. I'm pretty sure I did that with you.
Oh yeah, no, but yeah, no, it's difficult to say whether like how funny it is to make that judgment because like for instance, when we were growing up, when we were younger, we would watch the earlier Simpsons seasons and it wouldn't even be just something. It'd be like watching like the Flintstones or some cartoon where you're just like it's just on, right?
Yeah.
And then as we get into like mid-teens, you start watching those older seasons, you're like, oh man, that is really funny.
They
Like,
take on a whole other meaning.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird because at first you're just like, whoa, wait a minute, that is funny, and you don't actually laugh.
Yeah.
And it's because it's like you've seen those episodes so many times without really knowing why they're that funny, right?
Yeah.
And then I find now when I watch them, because it's been a good like 15 years since I've seen almost any Simpsons episodes. Like I haven't really watched them at all, or watched TV. So yeah, I guess like in my early 20s, I just sort of stopped watching TV, right? But yeah, so like now when I see a Simpsons meme or an episode from that time, like it does make me laugh because it's been so long, right? It takes a lot out of you to try and come up with an ending to it. I'm talking now. Yeah.
That is the case.
What you gonna do with the
not
attention
wrong.
you got?
Yeah. It's funny though because like you just said, as kids you could watch the show and there would be something there where it's like, okay, Bart's being funny and haha, like stuff would just fly over your head, but then as you watch it, as you grow up and everything, you're like, oh dang, like there's like a really deep societal joke here. Like I think Simpsons was the first one that I can recall that was actually being like token black panelist, whatever. Yeah. I was just like, it killed me when I caught that because that's not something as a kid you wouldn't get it. It'd just be like, oh, okay, they said something, people laughed, haha. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, it's because you don't know that, like, yeah, that a token black person is a thing.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
But you learn more about the world. It's like, oh, I guess that's funny in that context.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
I know I'm good. So what do you mean by that?
Oh man.
I don't know if you guys talk about me and you edit it out. I'll know. Okay.
So yeah, there's like a Bluetooth speaker on the porch so you can hear the podcast.
Move everything closer to the window.
Mike, what would you say is like one of your favorite classic Simpsons episodes?
The first one that comes to mind is Monorail because that's the last one I saw.
Mono.
So good.
It's also
I didn't realize that Conan wrote that.
it's also
Like,
Conan
entirely.
O'Brien's favorite episode that he wrote.
Surprising.
My favorite one ever, I think, is Homer's Barbershop Quartet.
Oh,
That
that's
was
so
The Beatles
good.
episode.
Yeah.
There's just so many little jokes in there that references.
Yeah.
Recently, Family Guy did kind of stole one of the jokes, I guess you could say.
What a surprise.
There in the Simpsons episode, there's a parody of Revolution 9 where it's Barney and his Yoko, and he just burps and she says number 8.
That was my ringtone for the longest time. That's
weird.
Number 8.
And then Family Guy did it a couple weeks ago, but it was like it was number 9, but it was something else like dog related because it was Brian recording it. It was I ha-ha'd at it, but it wasn't like it was an instant recognition that I see what they're doing. It's the same thing that Simpsons did, but like my favorite Simpsons cameo was George Harrison in that episode.
Oh,
Like,
and that was your display picture on Facebook for the longest time, and it was genius.
That, yeah. My display pictures just cycle through Simpsons.
yeah.
Still.
It was because it was an actual brownie, and then Homer and
Yeah.
George pointing at the brownie.
Where'd you get that brownie?
Right over there.
Right over there, there's a whole table.
What a lovely fellow.
Yeah. Nice fella. And then at the end, when they're doing the rooftop concert, and George pulls up, and he's so dismissive. It's been done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best episode.
That was good. That was back when they had like all the good writers like Al Jean, Mike Reese, Mike Scully, Jason Schwartzwelder, or John Schwartzwelder was like the best one of the writers. He was like a notorious recluse. So he didn't do any interviews, but he was like he like ran that ship of the old Simpsons. And then Conan O'Brien, of course.
Yeah, Conan, yeah.
But
I think the show's like peak was probably like my favorite seasons. The ones I go back to the most are probably the ones I own. But also just in like as I've looked up, it seems to be like a general consensus. I think it's like seasons 4 through 7.
Yeah, we said 5.
3 to 9. 3 to 9, every episode is just like golden.
There's so many. Yeah, no, there's like I rarely skip an episode when I'm watching through. Even ones where you're like, okay, this isn't as funny as some other ones. It has some really golden moments. Like the one where they go to Australia, I can't think of I wouldn't say is anybody's favorite, but there's some moments in that episode that had me dying laughing. Like when Lisa's looking in the store and she wants to get the didgeridoo, but then it's like Bart running by, Lisa, Marge.
I like
cracks me up every time.
There's a part in that episode that I quote, not often, but let's say regularly, when I see like the way kids type these days. They use English words, but they're not. It doesn't make any sense. There's a part in that episode where there's a sign on the wall.
Oh yeah,
and it's like no faune or whatever.
Yeah,
and Lisa says, "I know those words, but that doesn't make any sense."
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
I love when they're like trying to hunt down the prime minister. Yeah. And he's just like sitting in his like river
inflatable pool. Mr. Prime Minister,
Andy. Oh, so good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And I also learned about the what's it called, the Coriolis effect.
Yeah,
on the toilet. I learned something from that episode.
Yeah.
And then Who Shot Mr. Burns? That might be one of my favorite episodes. It's so funny.
Fun fact about that arc is that whole storyline, within it was a contest right before they aired the final episode, because it was a 2-parter, right? 2 or 3-parter.
Yeah, it was 2-parter.
So they had a contest that they posed to the viewers to see who could figure out, if anybody could figure out who shot Mr. Burns.
Yeah.
And there was one guy, only one person got it right, and they tried reaching out to him to be like, hey, you guys, you won.
Yeah.
But they could never find him. Right. So only one person ever got that right.
Yeah. I like in the end of the first part when what's his name, Dr. Hibbert, he turns to the camera and he's like, "Can you solve it?" And it's like,
I don't know.
I guess I'll try.
I guess it's part of my job.
It's my job, right? Yeah. But that episode had so many just like funny, ridiculously funny moments.
That was good.
Homer freaking out about Mr. Burns not being able to remember his name. Yeah. Like, especially the whole part, it's the scene where he breaks into his office, he's spray painting. He gets caught spray painting, like, I am Homer Simpson. And then, who the devil are you?
That was the episode with the only F-bomb in it, but they covered it up.
And even then, it was just like, so funny, because it was Homer's pupils dilate ridiculously.
It's the one where he like lowers the paper. And
and then it's
when
just
reading the thank you note,
and it cuts to the noise,
and like, good lord, that was the loudest profanity I've ever heard.
Yeah, I think my favorite episode is Cape Fear.
Cape Fear?
That's where Sideshow Bob is hunting Bart on the boat with the HMS Pinafore.
Okay.
And they're all like, there's that scene where Sideshow Bob like ties everybody up on the boat.
Yeah.
Right? And Bart is the only one that he takes hostage. And Lisa and Marge are like trying to wriggle out of the ropes, and it cuts to Homer, and he's like drooling all over himself, and he's passed out. And Lisa's like, "Oh, Dad's been drugged," and Marge is like, "No, he hasn't." He's just like sleeping, hostage. It's amazing.
I saw that it.
She's back.
Luna is so happy that you're back in the house, Greg.
Oh yeah, she was whining.
Yeah, no, she was whining at the door while you were outside.
Oh. So sweet.
Yeah, I saw it was a Halloween episode they did a couple years ago where Sideshow Bob actually killed Bart and kept just re-killing him.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
I'm legit uncomfortable watching this.
That's weird, yeah.
It was just, it felt wrong. As child violence should. But
Violence against children is never...
at times it can be done well.
That's true.
Like, I had, at one point, Ian McDermott, the guy who played Emperor Palpatine, he had said at one point, like, it was never going to make the film or even get shot, but at one point they were talking about, like, seriously, like, actually showing Anakin attack the younglings. I'm like,
I am.
it's weird, but color me interested. Like,
well, I knew that was going to happen. I knew he was going to have to kill the younglings in
Yeah.
the movie before it came out. And I was waiting for that scene. Like, how are they going to do it?
yeah.
And it was all right.
Have you guys seen I think you actually pointed me to this. I'm pointing at Mike.
Yes, you are.
Red Letter Media
Yeah.
did a whole parody of the episode 1 to 3, or like a review.
Yeah.
Where it's the guy with the really, what's wrong with your face? Do you remember that?
No,
I thought you showed me that.
I might have.
He
just
did
don't
this
remember anything.
caricature satire review. This one guy under the moniker Red Letter Media.
Yeah. What's wrong with your face?
Also, yeah, and he was talking about one of the alien things that they introduced into episode 2, I think.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what I'm talking about. This sucks.
Yeah, you just kind of faded out there.
Yeah, I didn't know where you were going with this.
I thought you guys did? Okay.
Stop talking.
I don't... Yeah.
He just destroyed all 3 movies in this 72-hour review.
Wait,
72
2-hour
It's
review?
longer than the movies.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he just tore it to shreds. It was great.
Was it one video?
No. It was segmented out, but it was good.
I've actually, especially talking to Mike and then seeing worse prequels, I've actually gotten to a point where I found better ones online anyway, but I don't hate the prequels as much as I used to. That's just where I'm at. It's like, be it how memeable the movies are, like prequel memes are some of my favorite memes you'll find on the internet. They're just so funny. But at least, even though it was flawed as anything, it at least had some ambition and there was some good story there, even though misfired. It worked better. I'm at the point where I'm like, no, it works better than the sequel movies. The sequel movies might be better made and better shot and not have midi-chlorians, but they're not good.
I never understood people's way people disliked the midichlorians.
I think it's more so because you took something where it was like mystical, spiritual, however you want to describe it, and it's like, let's ground it. Let's try to put some science into it,
Let's
needlessly.
make it microscopic things in your blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand. What if that? Because we're all part of the building blocks of the universe, right? Like we're built from all the minerals and the
Star stuff.
Star stuff. Yeah. So why? If that's part of the fabric of what's holding all of creation together, then why can't it be measurable or in our blood or anything like that? I thought it was cool. I thought it was a quantifiable thing. It's now it's like in Dragon Ball Z where you can have people's power levels. It's now we know that that Anakin is the most powerful because he has the highest midichlorians. His blood's half midichlorians. Right, so now we know it's okay. So here he's the big bad, right? Now it's not disputable, and then now anyone who comes up and is so Goku has a power level of 7,000, and the new alien or whatever that shows up has a power level of 10,000. It's how are we going to bridge that gap, right? And just that alone, that's a season's worth of tension.
Can't say I've watched Dragon Ball Z recently, but
dude, I think in my early 20s I downloaded every episode and watched it. And they just come out with movies now that are sort of it's I think what they're doing, and I'm not sure, but this is what I think they're doing, is they're actually going back in time, and it's almost they're remaking. It's every character has gone back in time and they're going through the exact same experiences again, but it's with better animation and stuff like that. I'm not sure that's what's happening, but if it is, that sounds really cool. I would dig it.
Yeah. I fell off that train years ago.
Yeah.
The Dragon Ball train.
Yeah.
I was never on it.
Once they like.
Why are you living?
I live to not Dragon Ball.
But why though?
Why are you living?
You should put that on a shirt. Why you living?
Yeah, that's why.
So Dragon Ball Z.
We're actually talking about this at work the other day. We were doing rounds of what was the worst movie you've ever seen.
Oh.
With The Room and Samurai Cop and all those like Nar movies aside. Mine was Dragon Ball Z.
The live action Dragon Ball
was hands down the worst movie I think I've ever seen.
I've never seen that.
You ever seen movie 23?
Movie 23, no.
That was a terrible movie. It was like a
It had like everybody in it.
Yeah, it was like vignettes.
It'd been shot over like 4 years.
Yeah, it was a bunch of vignettes, really.
Oh.
I didn't watch it, but
it was terrible.
Wow.
There were some things that made me laugh. Like the first bit was Hugh Jackman and his testicles were on his chin, or his neck, his neck, somewhere. It was above the shoulders.
Yeah.
That was funny. And there was a parody of a feminine hygiene product ad that was funny, but the rest of it was just painful.
That sounds awful.
It was terrible.
Sounds awful.
I was one of 3 people in the theater.
Not one of 23?
but
That's like a take your glasses off, run your temples moment.
Oh man! I need to physically react to that.
I don't know how that makes me feel.
I feel violated.
So for me, it's really funny just because there's movies where you're like, it's awful, but I find with certain movies, the ones that I get more upset by aren't ones that are just bad movies. It's ones where I'm like, you had potential to be good, but you were disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Those are the worst.
like,
Yeah.
Mike and I have talked about it and I've blogged about it, where it would be like, yeah, Batman and Robin is the like
I just
undefendable. It's terrible. But
It's
Spider-Man 3 is more upsetting to me because it at least had potential to be good.
When did you know that Batman and Robin didn't have potential? You know what I mean?
When I saw it when I was 12, after I saw it as a kid. Because at some point you're like, this isn't Batman.
But you saw Spider-Man, like...
Yeah, no, Spider-Man I saw older, but now where it's like, I give Spider-Man 3 a lot of crap because it's a terrible movie.
But you didn't see the title Batman and Robin and got excited about it?
No, as a little kid, I was just like, oh, hey, Batman.
I was
like,
pumped for the next Batman.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to be like, man, I could give Forever more of a watch. Whereas now I'm like, no, Forever is a pretty bad movie. But then Batman and I watched it with some friends who had never seen any of the Batman movies. And we watched Tim Burton's Batman, then we watched Batman Returns, which I actually really dig Batman Returns. Like,
Love Batman Returns.
So messed up.
Oh,
it's not comic book Batman, but I do like Tim Burton's weird Batman.
Yeah.
And we watched it like before Christmas. It was so good. You all right?
Dog scratched my foot.
Sorry, dude.
It just hurt a lot. That's it. That's okay.
But then with this girl Trish, we watched Batman Forever, and then she was like, "That was really bad. Like, it can't get any worse. The next one's gonna be better, right?"
You know what?
And then I just lost it laughing because I'm like, "Oh, you have no idea somehow how it only gets worse." Like,
the first one was terrible. It was dumb. Jack Nicholson's Joker was stupid.
Oh, you're fighting words now, man.
It was like someone someone had a bunch of footage and you're like, yeah, let's throw that there and we'll throw this, we'll just end that here for some reason, and the next scene will start again for some reason. And then
you've been spending too much time with Darko.
I just watched the movie once in adulthood and this is ridiculous. It's like,
and that was Tim Burton, right?
Dude. Yeah, Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Although
it was okay. Like,
one of my favorite references in real life to Batman was when we were on a bus. Some drunk guy started to start a fight with Christian and Tommy, and Darko's like, "You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts."
Mr. Peanut from High? Wasn't that the Peanut guy?
No, that was
Second.
Michael Keaton. That was Michael Keaton from Batman.
Yeah. You ever
Oh,
see
yeah,
the
that's-
devil dance in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, where that Tim, I like the first Batman movie. It's got flaws, and Batman Returns to me it's better.
It's a better
Um,
the
but
first
it's
Batman
got-
movie is slow.
yeah, and not a good kind of slow.
Yeah.
I
It's,
think those were like the first kind of adaptations of a grittier Batman, right?
yeah,
More
no, because at that point
realistic.
the only Batman movie had been the movie
Adam West
shot
one.
during the Adam West show
Yeah.
And that was
in the '60s.
no, but
66, yeah.
the Batman flicks. They were before Beetlejuice, right?
No,
No,
after.
they're after.
They were after,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, no, that's why there was so much issue with Michael Keaton getting cast as Batman, because at that point he had only been like Mr. Mom and Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Like people thought he was going to be terrible, and I really dig his performance. Like that's not Bruce Wayne, that's not Batman, but his
But he
performance-
works. I
Oh, he
agree.
works,
Yeah,
and
There's
his
a great,
performance was
like
great.
the tormented dual,
Yeah.
dual
He's like
duality.
one of my top favorite Batman.
Yeah, the it's so weird when you watch those movies or look at the castings, because everybody is like George Clooney as Batman makes no sense. Well, I'm like, but if you're looking at the like sexy bachelor like rich guy,
Yeah,
then
good
George
Bruce Wayne.
Clooney as Bruce Wayne makes 100% sense.
Yeah, he's good Bruce
Like
Wayne,
it's
yeah.
that I'm like that would be, especially at the height of VR. I'm like, no, that's perfect casting. Like,
The Bat card. Never leave the cape
Yeah,
without it.
that's what I think of when I think of
Yeah, right.
Batman.
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. And then you got a Nightwing costume, but on Robin, and man, that movie's awful.
Well, what? Who? There was Alicia Silverstone.
Mhm.
As a
Chris O'Donnell as Chris O'Donnell.
Oh,
as
terrible.
Batgirl,
Just
and
terrible.
Chris O'Donnell is Batgirl.
and the, and the biggest tragedy of Batman and Robin, with all its ice puns and everything, you had Coolio in the movie as some random street gangster.
That's the
And
least
they
of that movie.
don't actually have him interact and make a pun with Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze. Like, that's a crime.
But we did get all the good puns. Nice to see you.
Oh,
Or kill the dinosaurs.
The Ice Age! Like,
oh my God.
Everybody freeze.
hey, chill.
I mean, there's so many moments in that like initial.
I saw this video recently. It was the alphabet according to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it was just like lines, catchphrases of his for each letter. Like, for A. G is get to the chopper.
Get through the chopper. K is kill me, come on.
Come on, like you.
There's this great Mad TV skit where they had Will Sasso as Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
and he's like rehearsing lines with his wife.
In bed, right?
Yeah, in
I
bed.
know that one, yeah.
And all of his lines are, she's got like the multisyllabic lines.
Yeah.
And all his responses are yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gets to like the fourth line, and he's like, yeah. I mean, no.
I like the one on Mad TV. I don't know if it was Will Sasso doing it, but it was like a movie trailer, and it was the Terminator going back in time.
And then the CIA. Yeah, that was Will Sasso. Oh wait, no. I know what you're talking about. That wasn't Mad TV.
when he goes back in time to kill Judas.
Your
for killing-
clothes,
for
gives them to me.
betraying Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was SNL.
No, that was like some like random indie offshoot.
Oh,
okay.
okay, but that was funny.
What are you some kind
you?
of? What are you some kind of wise guys? Well, actually, yes.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there was Mad TV. Clone Baby. You remember that one?
Oh yeah.
This is my clone baby.
And yeah, you had Will Sasso
Goo
like.
goo gaga. The baby had a cigar in his mouth.
It's like Eraser when I had to get back my stolen identity. And then in Terminator, I had to get back my stolen identity. This one, stolen identity 3. It makes a lot more money.
Oh man.
I love Schwarzenegger movies. I really do.
Oh, they're so good.
Mike's just like used to her, but like just talking.
Oh,
Yeah.
I miss good Terminator movies.
I miss good Arnold movies.
Yeah. Although I loved Expendables 2.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I thought that's what the franchise should have been. Like the first one had some really good set pieces,
Yeah.
like some great action, but it's the Jason Statham basketball court scene was wonderful, and then it's the last half hour, and when they bomb the pier.
Yeah.
But then Expendables 2, it's just like, okay, look, we know what we are, and it's let's reference each other's catchphrases, have everybody be ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this is what this should have been.
Seems like almost self-awareness is becoming like a hacky trope.
Yeah. It can work.
It's hard to do well. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are still.
It works in certain situations. Like Deadpool pulls it off well.
Yes.
Because that's
Big Mouth
very much
pulls
to
it
the
off.
I like.
character.
When they
Yeah,
break
Deadpool 2
the
I like
fourth wall and-
a little less,
I
but it was still okay.
I actually like
I see
Deadpool 2
you.
more
That's
than the
really-
first one. Yeah.
It's the name of the show.
We're having two conversations.
Yeah,
at the
we
same
are.
time.
I like Deadpool 2 more than the first one. Just because I've had issues with porn. So if it's like sex and nudity in a movie, I'll often like not see it. And then if
Did you say Lauren?
no, it's a porn.
Oh, I see.
Who's Lauren?
So if it's like Deadpool, I had heard a lot about like, oh, there's all the sexuality. It ended up being just in a couple minutes.
Oh.
So I made my own cut of the movie to watch it, where it's like I can trim around that, you can lift it out. Deadpool 2 didn't have any of that. And then I found it like it worked better with having more of a like the villain worked more with the story because it wasn't like, okay, we have to have this big one-to-one battle. It's just like, okay, he's trying to fight against Cable, and then the story just evolved and worked with it, where it's like the kid, but then the Juggernaut worked in so good. And the X-Force just killing them all off.
Yeah, that was
hilarious. On a side note, I heard the original, or the apparent original pitch to what was going to be like the sequel to Superman Returns. And I so badly want that movie.
The Nick
to be
Cage?
made. No, that was Superman Lives. Which in Teen Titans Go to the Movies, they had Nick Cage be Superman.
Yeah.
Which was like so many good meta references like that. And then they were like, oh no, Lex Luthor's trying to sell some land. Superman, you need to go.
Yeah.
Like, just in no super... Yeah, great movie. No, the Superman Returns, the one with Brandon Routh.
Oh, yeah.
And Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor.
Poor Kevin.
Poor
I don't know why I say poor
Poor,
Kevin.
yeah, don't, have you seen...
Poor Kevin.
One quick segue. Have you seen House of Cards? Do you watch?
No, I don't watch it. No.
Okay, there's this... Whenever you got to see this. It's Kevin Spacey addressing the public on his allegations as Frank Underwood.
Yeah.
So he's like in character.
That's weird.
As Frank, it works so
Yeah.
well. It's hilarious. Yeah.
An uncomfortable silence is falling.
No, like I heard about there's more
Christian
allegations, right? The
Christian
other
looks
day.
shocked.
Did he come up with this like Christmas video, sort of trying to be funny about stuff and like self-deprecating, and like
I
a
don't
day
know.
later, like other video came out of him groping this
he was
busboy.
groping.
So it's just like he's trying to make this comeback, like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm Kevin Spacey, I'm funny, I'm wearing a Christmas sweater, and then it's like, we'll have another video that you might be interested in. It's a video of you molesting someone.
See,
I think I'm just disappointed in it. I say poor Kevin, but not really like
Poor
having
me.
sympathy for him.
Yeah.
He's a good actor.
well,
Well,
the only
he's a good actor.
one of the guys who's kind of like having a comeback, who I'm happy for, is Mel Gibson, but just because he's actually like done a lot of work. Like he's actually tried to show like I'm improving myself. I'm not this like the drunken idiot who said all these terrible things that I did.
I don't hate the Jews.
No,
I was gonna
but
say, so you draw the line.
but like so after that happened though,
Yeah.
like he went to every synagogue. He went and apologized
Yeah.
personally to so many areas. He volunteered. He actually did stuff to show like I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to grow as a person. Like
I need my career.
for him, no, for him it was more so. I think like it seemed like an actual repentance, not like let's just brush this under a rug. It's been a couple years. Like
It wasn't a PR move.
no, because at that time, especially with that kind of thing, there isn't really like anything you can do to salvage that. So with him, it's just like it's when you read into the stories and actually see like he actually did do the work. So then again, part of it comes from my faith, where if I've been forgiven, like of course I'm going to forgive, and part of that is growing as a person. So if someone does the genuine work, I like to think that there is an opportunity for a second chance. But if you're just like, let's just brush this under the rug, I didn't do anything wrong or anything like that, then no.
Okay, so I think giving someone the benefit of the doubt is difficult to do. And I generally, like, if someone's substantially more famous and rich than I am, I prefer not to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, oh, I hate you.
They were more successful than I.
Yeah, I was like, so let's take you down a peg.
This breeds a deep jealousy.
Deep-seated resentment, feelings of inadequacy.
You think you're better than me?
Yeah, you think you're better than me. Well, you're a racist and you're drunk and you have no career anymore. And I'm on top, Mel Gibson.
You should send him a postcard that says, "I'm on top, Mel Gibson."
Why do I keep getting these? No, dude, I don't know. It's so like I'm so not inclined to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I mean, you make a lot of good points. I have no reason really to doubt him. You know, I mean, I have as much a reason to doubt him as I do to not doubt him, given how close we are.
we're best buds. I wrote his dialogue for What Women Want.
So there's a
Bonded
movie,
over.
movies coming out next year. There's a movie coming out next year called What Men Want.
Oh,
I'm sure that's gonna be terrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, they'd probably just take like that meme, like men literally only want one thing and it's disgusting. Just take every version of that. And make that into a movie.
Isn't What Men Want going to be one of those like Regina Hall,
I think so.
Black Girl movies?
Yeah.
Like Girls Trip. Was it Girls Trip?
Mm.
With Tiffany Haddish. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one. Yeah, it's not a sequel to What Women Want.
Or
Yeah.
some spot of it. But somebody compiled all like a list, an audio list of all of Mel Gibson's rantings and ravings.
Oh no!
And it like spanned, I don't know, like 4 or 5 pages, and the comments at the end were, "I love Mel Gibson's annual podcast."
Oh no!
It's so good.
It's yeah. I watch Screen Junkies a lot, and they made a comment where I'm like, yeah, actually, that's a really good idea. The guy Spencer, he was just like, I don't understand why celebrities don't just like nuke their Twitter. So the most recent thing is just something from within the same month. It's like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, like with Kevin Hart and James Gunn, there were things that got them in trouble from years ago.
And in the case of James Gunn, like he had actually apologized for and addressed, like it had come up like 2 or 3 times.
Both of those are actually, you know, it's weird. Like I don't like the whole witch hunt, taking people down because of things they said when they could have changed, or maybe they were joking. You know, it's the internet, whatever. The gun thing. Someone who has such a preoccupation with pedophilia is concerning. It's off-putting. And I don't care if he was joking or not.
No.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you look up the stuff, it's like
There's an
Dumb.
inherent awareness that it's a joke.
Yeah.
But with
Between 2 close friends, as opposed to like a feeler that you throw out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with him at the time, if you read into the story, he was working. I don't even know the name of the film company, but it was a like low budget film company that.
Trauma?
Pardon?
Is it Trauma?
It might have been.
Yeah.
Where its whole thing was just like, we are crass, we are crude, we are like, it's just about making people feel uncomfortable to generate a reaction. And it was something they did in their films and their press releases and their interviews and their tweets. Like, and he is like, Gunn came forward, he was like, yeah, I took that too far. That was something that was a behavior that was encouraged at the
So you made a company
place.
out of like trolling people? That's the whole thing. Like, I'm just going to be a troll for the sake of what?
I think so. Where it's just like, what's going to strike a chord? Like,
Yeah.
what's really going to generate a reaction, be it a laugh or like disgust? That was something that was apparently encouraged by the film company at the time.
I mean,
Not to justify,
Yeah, I know,
not
I know.
justifying what he said.
I know.
But then,
I'm taking issue with that being like what's the motivation behind someone creating a company like that, where it's like
because
what are you like in the 6th grade?
no, well,
you're a grown-ass
because
man.
no. See, it could be very much because it's like any controversy is good controversy. That's not the case anymore. But it's like if you're doing something.
No, I was gonna say, you can make an argument for someone being a provocateur, right? Like there's merit in that, or you know, like when I was saying to you on the way up, that comedian where I was saying like he made jokes, but there's this comedian, I can't remember his name now, and I told you on the way up. Oh, it's really frustrating. Santino, Andrew Santino, and he does this bit where he's obviously he's a white dude, but he does this bit in like a perfect Indian accent where he was a white dude raised by Indian parents. And so he comments on like
Yeah.
on the disconnect between his voice and his color, and it's just really, really funny, right? And I even show it to Monica, and she's like, I want to dislike it, but he's doing it really well and it's funny, so like I dig
Right.
it. Oh jeez. Oh yeah. So in that sense, he is. Like, that's good art. Like, it is provocative.
Right.
He's not coming at it from a place of like bad faith or hate or ill will. He's not making fun of Indian people, but it just sort of challenges your own notions or your own perception of comedy or anything like that, right? That's challenging art. But what you're describing, what this gentleman, James Gunn, is doing, it just sounds like a bunch of really stupid, immature, sort of hateful people who are like, hey, let's make money off of people who are like us, who will dig this stuff because simply like it's
Right.
like it's almost like a step down from Milo Yiannopoulos. Like, at least he brought to the forefront some things that are worth discussing, right? But yeah, and I just wanted to say about Kevin Hart. He said that if he had a son, he was gay. He'd beat the pardon my language, but like that's basically what he said. I'm just like, and then when he was asked to like essentially apologize for that and take it back, he says no. So I think
So messed up.
yeah, like I mean, obviously he doesn't need to be hosting the Oscars. He doesn't need that. He's like one of the richest comedians
Right.
ever, so he'll be fine. But no forgiveness from me, to Kevin Hart. For Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inexcusable.
You know Pete Holmes?
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
He used to write for Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
And Conan O'Brien was actually on the show a little while ago.
Is Conan still doing his show?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got a
Poor
podcast
Conan.
now.
No. I don't. Not
no,
knocking.
it's-
Just because
I know.
I don't have like Jill and I don't have cable. We don't have we just have Netflix and YouTube. Whenever the talk show stuff shows up on YouTube, the stuff that gets heavily promoted. For a while it was Conan, but now it's just like the John Oliver and the late night stuff and the Kimmel stuff. So I just wasn't sure because I know he had his TBS show.
Yeah,
But
he's still going.
cool.
Um,
Norm still show up and steal the show.
Norm has his own Netflix show.
It's good.
I've watched a couple episodes and
Yeah.
So the movie I'm most looking forward to coming out next
I
year.
thought you were saying I'm making. I was like, what?
which
What
would
are you
surprise me because you've just like switched careers and paths so much.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Journeyman.
Yeah.
It's not an insult.
Look,
Son.
be on the lookout for my next movie.
Yeah.
The story
Also,
of
my
a
mixtape
man.
is coming out.
Yeah. Jimi Hendrix.
You got Jimi Hendrix experience from Jimi Hendrix. And the Jimi Hendrix
Jimi
band.
Hendrix here. All parts written and recorded by me, Jimi Hendrix.
Engineered by Jimi Hendrix.
Also me.
Oh my gosh.
So, your most anticipated
Yeah.
movie, Darko? Or were you just not saying?
No, the top two probably. It's a tie between us and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
All right.
Probably those two.
Once upon a time in Hollywood.
Quentin Tarantino's just like.
About
Oh,
the
yeah.
Manson murders, right?
That's like a loose part of the storyline.
Oh, it's just a bit of it. Eh?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's just a bit of it.
You know what? I miss when. This is going to sound harsher, but I just can't think of how to say it. I miss when Tarantino was good.
Oh, is he turned like an Adam Sandler?
No. No.
Hateful Eight was okay.
Yeah.
No,
It was
but-
okay.
So by that I mean like I saw Reservoir Dogs for the first time,
Yes.
and then like he just in a way compare it to early Spielberg, where Spielberg used to have a magic to him, where he does still make great movies, but it's not the same as like his work from like Jaws till Jurassic Park or Schindler's List. Like that had weighty, but it had just a style, a tone. Like early Tarantino, even up till Kill Bill 2, like it just had a way about it. Inglorious Bastards wasn't my favorite, and when I saw Django, I'm like, you could chop off 45 minutes from this movie, and it would be to me better. Where it was just. It had some really good stuff in it, but it was also at times just painfully slow.
A little too much
like
fat.
where nothing was going on.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, you could just trim this. Where when you watch Reservoir Dogs, when you watch Pulp Fiction, like they're structured weird, but their runtime is smooth, it's crisp, the flow is great, and I just haven't been as impressed with his later stuff. Not saying it's bad. Like I haven't even bothered with Hateful Eight, but.
Yeah,
I just miss the like classic Tarantino. A buddy of mine just saw a bunch of his stuff for the first time recently, and that's where I was just like, man, it's different. I mean, your stuff changes as a filmmaker and as a person when you grow, but I just don't think it's I just miss that Tarantino.
Well, he's.
Standoff?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So he's probably he has his own process, clearly, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
He has his own unique way of making movies. So he's probably streamlined it, and that's probably what's happened. Like he's probably just like he has a process that he follows and adheres to,
Right.
and like what we're seeing is like all those little magic moments that probably popped up in the moments of like, oh, I don't know what to do or something. Now they're gone because he's like, it's a clean machine, right?
Right.
Handmade.
He was he was rumored to be doing a Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
Which
An R-rated Star Trek movie.
I'm not for. Like
Sexy Star Trek.
just like I want good Star Trek, which we haven't gotten with Discovery.
Oh, and to put it on a streaming, like, who's gonna? I can't even. I'm not gonna say it because everybody who knows about it, this is the first thing they thought. Like, why would they do this? Why? Who? Why?
Why?
Yeah, it's like they think that, oh, Star Trek's enough of a draw that we're actually going to get people to pay for this subscription service just so they can watch Star Trek. No, dude, no.
It's not even good Star Trek. Like, I really liked the last Star Trek movie. Mm-hmm. I know some people were like, oh, it's just the Fast and the Furious guy, which, whatever. I've dug the last bunch of Fast and the Furious movies. They're ridiculous fun.
All the new Star Trek movies, like, since the reboot, all of them are fine, at least.
Yeah,
They're
I
fine.
enjoyed them.
Yeah.
I like them.
I've rewatched, because one of the last series I did on the blog, I ranked friggin' all the Star Trek movies. I couldn't watch them all because some of them are just atrociously bad. Yeah. And also, that's like 13 movies to watch, which is just daunting.
Yeah.
But the ones that, when I watched the recent 3, the Kelvin timeline, I'm like, all right, Into Darkness it's got its flaws. It's the most flawed one of them, but it still had like some great performances and some really solid action. But Trek Beyond, I was like, it's got the most references to other Star Trek. It got to be its own story where it's not like, okay, we got to adhere to the last one to do the setup, and then, well, we're riffing off of Wrath of Khan, so we're going to be doing that too much. Like, it got to be its own thing, which it had great Trek moments, but then also was a really solid movie. I mean, sure, the Beastie Boys thing might have been dumb, but I was all in, because I'm like, it's dumb, but it's a fun dumb, and it's a nice reference to this this era of Trek, because it was tied into the trailer, tied into the first movie with him as a kid.
That scene was amazing, like,
and it was really well shot.
Oh, dude, yeah. Man, I can't remember if it was you or Dave, but one of you likes Discovery, Enterprise. No,
Voyager?
No.
Deep Space Nine.
No, it's the one after Voyager. Is it
Next
Enterprise?
Generation?
Enterprise, yeah.
Enterprise, okay.
My brother loves Enterprise.
I love Enterprise too. I think that is besides Next Generation, it is the best Star Trek series for sure.
Oh, I'll fight you. DS9 is excellent.
No, dude, your brother is so much smarter than you, Chris.
Thanks. That doesn't apply to any deep insecurities or anything.
No, man.
How does that make you feel?
Insecure and vulnerable as a person.
I wouldn't say it if I wasn't completely joking, but I do. I totally agree with him about Discovery, man, because like you got to see the very, very first Enterprise, Admiral Archer, the Beagle, awesome,
which they had a cool reference to in Trek 09.
In Trek 09, and like all that stuff is really, really cool to me. I'm like, this is the first human vessel going out, and like that's awesome. And then also,
Luna is now going to Darko. I want kisses. Give me kisses.
Oh, Discovery. Yeah, man, and they did the same thing the movies did, where they changed the timeline so they could do whatever they wanted, right?
Yeah, no, well, Discovery's whole thing is like, hey, we take place in the same timeline.
As Enterprise?
No, as
every other
Enterprise,
one.
as TNG, as DS.
No, because Enterprise took place in a different timeline from all the...
No, it was just a prequel. It took place like 100 years before Kirk and them.
But the Borg and stuff, and like...
Yeah, I know.
Wasn't there like a time rift where like the Borg
They
came
went
back?
into the future?
Yeah.
No, so the Borg episode was a sequel to First Contact, the Next Generation movie.
It couldn't have been a sequel, man.
It was.
Then how was Archer a captain of a starship and not an admiral or retired or something?
So, because Trek First Contact, like, it took place in the TNG timeline, so in the future, like 100 years in the future from Enterprise.
So the TNG people went back in time?
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. In First Contact, they went back in time. The Borg went back to assimilate Earth before they made first contact with the Romulans.
Oh.
Because at that point, there was like 3 million people or something small living on Earth because it'd be easy, it'd be vulnerable, World War IV or whatever. Yeah, so Enterprise was a prequel series to the original series and then everything.
Yeah.
And then the Kelvin timeline is its own thing.
Yeah.
But then Discovery is like, hey, we're going back to the original timeline. We're taking place like 3 years before Kirk and Spock show up, but the Klingons are ridiculously different and everything's ridiculously different. Now,
Okay.
Discovery sucks.
Yeah, it sounds like it sucks. Oh no, I thought Enterprise was like they also had like a blank slate to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
Discovery's the new one?
Yeah.
So a buddy of mine works on the show, and he's like, it's total dreck. It's just garbage.
You should name him. No, I'm kidding.
Names, Darko.
We want names. Just go to East York.
Yeah. What?
I said he did go to East
Oh
York.
my gosh.
Yeah, you met him.
Was he the guy? Was he the guy at your Halloween party?
Yeah.
And he was dating Florida, right? Or they're married?
Casey.
But she was dressed up as Florida.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Idaho and Florida.
Florida.
Next,
That's my name. Florida.
It's the name of a state.
Oh, goodness.
That's the name of a state. And the dude is like,
Dynamite!
Yeah. That's how I feel when a woman I love is crying and I don't know what to do.
Dynamite!
Okay! So,
leave you alone with your thoughts.
there's this episode of F is for Family where the mom, she's pregnant for like the 4th time, and she had this this wall that she was putting wallpaper up on when she's pregnant with the first kid, and it's still not done. So she gets up in the middle of the night, she's like, oh, I gotta get this done. She's freaking out, and then she starts crying because she can't get it done. And then Bill Burr's character, the guy, starts walking down the stairs, and he sees her crying. She's like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, oh jeez, and he just walks back, he just backs up the stairs. I'm like, that is 100% me. I'd be like, oh, that looks like a hell of a conversation. Going back to sleep.
Oh, man.
Did you see Bill Burr on Hot Ones?
That's probably the only thing I haven't seen Bill Burr on.
It's really good.
Yeah?
Because he can't take his spice, right?
He's like the palest, whitest dude ever. I assume he probably got like super red.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, dear listener, thank you for listening.
Replace me with a shrub. That's all
This is the sound of a
Why did you have to CGI me? This is audio.
I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of One Grass Radio. Guys, thanks for joining.
I'm sorry. You're welcome.
I'm very sorry.
So, same time next week.
And thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed, and Happy New Year, friends. God bless and take care. Peace.